Hello everybody, this is Vaughn here. I'm coming back. It's November 28th, 2025. It's Black Friday. As I promised, I say that I would come back on today, and I'm doing that. I wanted to give some updated information on what I talked about earlier this week about the Cook County property taxes. I have gone through additional sets of data. And again, I've learned and discovered a lot. For years, I've had an understanding of the Cook County property taxes, and I mean for a long time. I've been really going after the Cook County property tax issue because I am a homeowner and I have been paying property taxes for the last 22 or 23 years, give or take. And one of the actual municipality that I live in right now is one of the highest tax rate municipalities in all of Cook County. So for that reason, I've always been invested in and seriously concerned about property taxes. Now, I promised that today's video would be short, and I'm going to do my best to stick to that promise. But there's just so much information that I can share with everyone about Cook County property taxes. I recognize that for years we've seen news segments talking about high property taxes. I think last year when the second installment tax bill came out, or maybe it was even during the Cook County assessment, it was said that the southern suburbs had seen the highest increase in tax bills, I think it said within the last 29 or 30 years. And then, of course, most recently, as we waited for the delayed Cook County property tax bill, and of course the reason why it was delayed, if you don't already know, is because of an IT migration that occurred with Tyler Technologies. It took them much longer than what was originally anticipated and promised to do this migration. But nevertheless, once the tax bills finally came out, it now came out that the city of Chicago had seen the highest increase in 30 years. Surprise. If you've been into the tax system, or if you've been really involved with Cook County property taxes for decades, you would know that that's really not a surprise. So, I'm coming back to just say this. First and foremost, if you are a property tax payer, what I want to tell you is this. Appeal your taxes. That's the best way that I can say it. If you don't know how to appeal your taxes, reach out to someone who knows how to do it. Now, I'm going to tell you very directly, I don't think this is a secret, but the Cook County assessment process is inherently flawed. It's flawed big time. And, the flaws that it inherently has, I believe, is one of the reasons why it took so long for the IT, Tyler Technology migration to occur. And to be honest with you, our Cook County property tax system does not make it easy for property taxpayers to appeal their taxes. So sure, I know that there are always these property tax seminars, and we always see the assessor or the board of review, really sounding the alarm about attending the seminar. But let me assure you, from someone who is, I don't want to call myself a data expert, but I've been doing data analyses before data analyses became sexy. So like right now, you always hear about, data engineers, data scientists, data analysts. Well, I've been doing data science type of work at least for 20 years as a reliability and quality engineer. I'm also a trained statistical engineer. So, I mean, I've been looking at data for years and using some of the same systems for years that the Cook County Assessor uses. Except I've been using these systems a lot longer than the Cook County Assessor. So, anyway, let me get back to this. The Cook County assessment system is inherently flawed. When you look at one area of the system in the Cook County data portal, there's raw data that represents the assessed value data. So it has the PIN numbers, it has addresses, it has square footages, and it has the assessed values, the equalized assessed values, the market assessed values, square footage for the land, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's another data set, raw data, in the data portal that has the property characteristics. Now, in 2025, you would think that all this data would already be merged together so that the taxpayers who want to appeal their taxes have an easy way of appealing their taxes. And unfortunately, the system is not set up that way. So even though you may try to do an appeal going through the Cook County Board of Review, or even going through the Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board, because by the way, I know a lot of times we hear about appealing your taxes, and oftentimes you hear people talk about appealing your taxes with the Cook County Assessor, and then you hear about appealing your taxes with the Cook County Board of Review. But it's not too often that you hear people talk about appealing your taxes with the Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board. So let me just explain that to everyone right now. I'm not going to explain the details, but let me explain to everyone right now that there are 3 times that you have to appeal your taxes. The first time is with the Cook County Assessor when he assesses your property. The second time is with the Cook County Board of Review. And then the third time is with the Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board. But let me get back to the inherent flaws of the assessor's system. So if you don't know, the assessor uses something called mass appraisals. And the mass appraisal, even though it's done because they want to be fair, it is inherently not fair. And let me give you a prime example as to why it's not fair. The way the system is designed is that it looks at the market value of properties. Well, if you are in a certain community, if the community that you are in is experiencing a lot of property flips or property remodels, what happens is that when those property flips are completed, those flips increase the market value of the home. So let's say you purchased a property that needed to be modernized. You do the modernization, you improve the value of that property, and then you flip it. for higher sales value. Well, if you have multiple properties in your community that have gone through that rehab or modernization and flip process, that property and those properties that have gone through that process now, unfortunately, adversely affect the value of your home. And when I say it adversely affects the value of your home, I mean from a property tax perspective. So I'm going to be showing you some images as I'm talking. You'll see them in a couple of seconds. So there are specific properties that I looked at. And the reason why I looked at these properties is because one of the properties I actually walked through. So the first property I'm going to show you is in the city of Chicago. Now, the first property has a value, the assessed value from Cook County of $160,000. Now, the first property that I'm going to show you, or I am showing you, needs a full gut renovation. I walked through the property that you're looking at right now. I walked through it personally as a HUD consultant, looking at it to determine how much work the property needed. So again, the value of this property that needs a full gut renovation, as assessed by the assessor, was $160,000 assessed value. The other property that I'm going to show you, that you'll see right now, is a property that is known as a comparable, and it's a full or fully modernized, fully improved property. So, the second property, fully improved, has an assessed value from Cook County of $170,000. If you look at the two pictures, you would say it's not possible that both of those properties are effectively equal. But according to the assessor, they are. Both properties have fairly equal property tax bills that are now due. The first property has a tax bill unadjusted without homeowner exemptions or senior exemptions or anything like that of approximately $3,200. And the second property that you saw has a tax bill of $3,400. How can that be? Both of those properties are drastically different. One you can't even live in. Again, I was in there, and I can tell you, nobody should have been in there when I did the walkthrough, and no one should be in there today. The second property, obviously, has been renovated and it's move-in ready. That in and of itself, that example tells you the huge flaw that exists inherently in the Cook County Assessor process. So again, if you are a homeowner and you've owned a home for 10, 15, 20, 30 plus years, and you've never had a modernization, and you need work, and your house is compared to another property, or your property is compared to something else that's been fully modernized, and the full modernization of that property has now commanded a much higher price, that higher price that has now set the tone for your area based on the assessor process and the assessor model now adversely affects your property tax bills or your property tax bill. The two properties are not equal, but according to the assessor, they are equal. And that is the inherent flaw, without me even talking about statistics, because there are some statistical models that I have completed that show you that there are some flaws in the system. But without me even talking about statistics, The first example what I just showed you, clearly shows you that there is an inherent flaw in the system. Now, getting back to the statistics, when you go to the Cook County Board of Review, if you go to some of those meetings or some of those seminars, for every seminar that I've gone to, I've never heard them talk about statistics. And in my experience, especially now that I've looked at all this data, and by the way, last year when I did this before and discussed the data with my own assessor, I looked at 40 million rows of data. I leveraged the system that I have to look at and analyze 40 million rows worth of data to identify inconsistencies. And just like I told my assessor, the Rich Township assessor, by the way, last year, that I saw some anomalies, I saw the same type of anomalies when I did the assessment or the evaluation or the statistical model again this year. There's something called regressivity, which means that the Cook County Assessor tends to assign higher cost per square foot values on smaller homes compared to larger homes. So if you are, let's say, someone who owns a smaller home, you own a smaller home in a community of larger homes, you are penalized from a cost per square foot perspective. I have evaluated this statistically. I'm not going to spend the time to go through it on this video because it's far too detailed. It's far too difficult, to be honest with you, far too deep if you don't understand statistics. But I'm telling you, there is a flaw in the system, which I will begin to talk about with the Cook County Assessor, the Rich Township Assessor, that is. The purpose of this video is to let everyone know that there are flaws, deep flaws, in the Cook County Assessor process and data. And I am taking this video, taking this time to encourage everyone, if you know how to do a property tax appeal, do it. If you don't know how to do a property tax appeal, contact someone who does know how to do it, maybe a realtor that you trust or an appraiser who you trust. And then, of course, you can contact me. Now, of course, if you call me because I'm using statistics to prove your case, I'm going to charge a fee. I can't say what your realtor or your appraiser is going to do. I imagine that they are going to charge a fee also, but I can tell you right now that my fee might be higher because not only am I doing comparative analyses, I'm also doing statistical analyses to demonstrate with statistical data why your property value should be lower than what it's been assessed at, so that you can perhaps get a refund through the certificate of error process, and or ensure that your upcoming tax bill reflects the accurate assessed amount based on statistical analyses. Again, I have never seen the assessor or the Cook County Board of Review during their seminars talk about statistics. I haven't heard them talk about standard deviations or z-scores or regression analysis or regressivity. Those are things that I am going to do if you contact me to help you appeal your taxes. So it's 19 minutes on this video right now. I did not mean to go this long, but the information that I'm sharing is so valuable. I'm encouraging everyone, appeal your property tax bill. The system isn't designed for everyone to appeal. Because if everyone appealed, it would cause a catastrophic problem. It would be a huge problem. There are so many things I want to talk about regarding the assessor's process. So many things. I want to talk about the levies. I want to talk about how taxing bodies set the levy after the assessment, and how the levy amount that they assign to your property is based on an inaccurate assessed value. I want to talk about that, but this video is not the time to talk about it. I probably will. I probably will create another video about that because it's so deep, it's so heavy, it's so upsetting to see. To be honest with you, to see how taxpayers, we probably are getting taken advantage of. And I'm not mincing words. I know what I've seen in the data. I know what I've studied. I know what my statistical brain and my statistical experience tells me. And the data is not good at all. Again, please everyone, if you are hearing or seeing this video, make it a priority to appeal your property tax bill. This is not a joke, everyone. Like I mentioned a couple of days ago, there are two properties that I evaluated statistically. Each property will save approximately $3,000 because the assessed value was wrong. I'm expecting for each property to get a refund via the certificate of error process. That's the expectation. I'm also expecting that the assessed value to be corrected so that future tax bills will also reflect that lower amount, the lower tax amount. I'm talking dollars and cents, everyone. Money that comes out of your pocket. Again, everybody, appeal your property tax bill. If you want me to help you appeal your property tax bill using statistics, reach out to me. My phone number, well, I won't give my phone number. My email will be shown at the end of this video. If you want to check my background, my experiences, look at my professional profiles. LinkedIn, look at my website. There's a copy of my resume on my website. I know what I'm doing, everyone. This is what I do. I'm heavy into data analysis, heavy into statistics. Cook County property taxes, they are a disaster. We need help. I'm going to help as many as I can and as many people who are willing to pay me for my services. I'm not doing it for free. And no one should expect that. If you can't afford to pay me, if you don't want to pay me, if you don't want to pay someone else, if you feel that you can do your own appeal and be successful, have at it. Please try. But there are some things that, unless you know how to get the data, there are some things that you'll need that you won't be able to get access to. All the data is public information, but it's not public knowledge. If you don't know how to do SQL queries, if you don't know how to use high-level business intelligence systems like Power BI, Tableau, SAS, you'll have a hard time proving or effectively appealing your taxes. But you can certainly try. Again, everyone, thank you very much for your time. This video was all about Cook County property taxes and the nightmare that we are up against. We've been up against it for years, but it has gotten worse in the past few years. And most people cannot afford to pay these taxes. Best wishes, everyone. Continued blessings. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that you reach out to me. I hope, more important, that you appeal your taxes or you have someone help you appeal your taxes. And even more important than that, I hope and pray that you're able to get your tax bill down to a level that's realistic and a level that's aligned with where you are financially in this world. This is Vaughn Harrison. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. Be blessed. See you next time.